Can you tell me what's going on with the coronavirus? What is the purpose for this virus? Is there a spiritual purpose for it?
Well, I don't think there's a spiritual purpose for it. I think that it's a tactic.
Oh, can you tell me more about that?
Yes. It's a diversion tactic.
Oh.
To keep people in a space of fear and to keep them looking at the wrong thing.
So tell me more. What do you mean by looking at the wrong thing?
If people are convinced, if humans are convinced that there's something out there killing people, then they won't pay attention to what's really going on.
What is really going on?
Well, so much is really going on.
Oh, can you tell me about it?
Sure. People are in pain, people are suffering, governments are struggling. There's so much fear-mongering in the world, and the powers that be would prefer it if the humans looked at a virus as the cause instead of the real cause.
Oh, so tell me more about the real cause.
The real cause is just a control mechanism. Just wanting, the government's wanting to do what they want to do and not have the people rise up or pay attention to it.
Oh. And what do you mean by what they want to do? What exactly are they doing?
I think just disenfranchising people. I don't think that from our standpoint it's as clear cut and overt as you would want me to say that it is.
Oh.
It's more just overall fear-mongering and keeping people in their place requires a certain amount of fear.
Oh.
And this has been going on since the earth was formed, since
Why?
human beings have been here.
Why is that? Why has it been going on so long?
Because humans don't understand their own potential or power.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so they put their power and their opportunity for potential in the hands of others, in the hands of governments, in the hands of armies, in the hands of others, and then they say, figure this out for me.
Oh.
And those powers that be say, okay, we will, and this is how this looks, and this is how things shall be. And then the humans say, okay. And they don't ask questions for a long time. And then suddenly someone says, excuse me, I have a question. Why are we doing this like this? And then the powers that be say, shh, stay in your lane. Do what we say to do. And if there's too many questions being asked, too many disgruntled humans that are not part of the government, then the powers that be say, okay, we need to divert the attention of these humans, and we need to keep them dumb and in their place and in their lane. And the best way to do that is to make them afraid.
What would you like to tell humans about this virus?
About this virus, that there's always going to be a virus.
Mm-hmm. What should humans know about what's going on?
They should know that this, just like every other virus that's been marketed correctly, SARS, Ebola, Zika, avian flu, whatever other thing that's been manufactured, is the same thing. It will eventually go away. And the more fear and the more news and the more public relations that this gets, the bigger that it gets. And so the best thing to do is not to ignore it per se, but to neutralize it,
What's the best way to do that?
To stop thinking about it and to stop obsessing over it.
Okay. So is there anything that humans are learning from having this experience? Or is there anything you would like humans to learn from this experience?
No.
Okay.
It's fear-mongering at an epidemic level. There's nothing to really learn from it or around it.
So is it even a virus? I mean, is it a real virus?
Well, it is a real virus. But just as though influenza is a real virus,
Okay.
you know, it doesn't have to be an epidemic. Belief systems and thoughts and fear-mongering are making it an epidemic.
It seems like it has a lot of marketing, and you were saying that that's, you know, to really take attention off of other things. It has a lot of marketing, but I don't quite understand why it's being shown as such a horrific virus. Is it a horrific virus?
No more horrific than any other virus.
Okay, so is it actually a deadly virus?
Well, any virus can be a deadly virus.
Okay.
Influenza kills thousands of people every year.
Right. More than this virus, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this is just a media tactic, exactly? Like by the government? To
Right.
get
It's
people
just,
in fear?
yeah, just to put fear in people's hearts.
So is it still safe to travel?
Well, that's a double question, because if you believe it's safe to travel, then it's safe to travel.
Okay.
And if you are afraid to travel, I wouldn't travel.
Okay. What's the best way for a person not to get the virus?
To believe that you would not get the virus.
Is that good enough?
From our perspective, it is good enough.
What do you guys think of the virus? Or this whole thing that's being blown out of proportion? What do you guys think
That
about
it is
that?
just that. It is something being blown out of proportion.
Do you guys laugh about this from your perspective? Or what do you guys think about when you look at us humans?
We hardly ever laugh at the plight of humans. We, especially when it comes to death and dying, it saddens us. It saddens us that the belief systems have gone wrong, and that you all make choices to believe things that do not need to be believed.
Oh.
However, we understand that you have your free will and your right to choose your own beliefs. And nothing makes us happier than you exercising those rights. We do wish that you would exercise them with your eyes open, as opposed to exercising them in an unconscious way.
Oh, I see.
To blindly believe things without asking questions or understanding the full scope of something is not what we wish for you.
Oh, okay. I see. So going forward, do you have any other advice for humans going forward in this time-space reality right now with everything going on?
The advice that we give is the advice that we always give.
Mm-hmm.
It is your choice to believe what you'd like to believe. It is your choice to lead from a place of love, if that is what you choose. And if you do lead from a place of love and believe that you are here to experience your own emotions and to live on a high vibration, then that is what you will do.
Okay. Are there any foods or any herbs that could help with this virus in particular?
Specifically?
Yes.
Not that we are aware of.
Okay. What would you suggest if someone did fear the virus enough to subscribe to it and get it? What would you suggest they do?
Seek medical attention, because at that point it's too late to transfer your belief system.
Mm-hmm.
working with belief systems, although it seems like a quick, easy fix, it really is not. When you have a deeply ingrained belief or a deeply ingrained fear, you need someone to extricate that fear on a subconscious level.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, a lot of humans, they can't really help it. They have this fear, they see it in the media, and they're scared to travel, so they already have the fear within them.
Correct.
So what's the best way for them to get rid of the fear?
Hypnosis.
Right. What if somebody doesn't know about hypnosis and doesn't know about QHHT? What other way could they get rid of fears? Is there any other way?
That's a tricky one, because if you don't know that it's just a fear that can be plucked out, you're not going to seek a way to change that.
True.
So you're basically just an unconscious human.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's a hard question. I mean, the best way to access your subconscious is by having someone help you with that.
Do you guys have access to future potentials? Like, can you, from your point of view, can you see where the virus will go or how it will end? Do you see future potentials?
We do. We also know from a historical viewpoint that this, like every other virus or epidemic, will fizzle out.
I say yes. I mean, is it a coincidence that there's an election year?
There's no coincidence.
Okay. So you see it fizzling out. In the future potentials, does it look as if it will fizzle out soon?
Within months, no one will be speaking of it.
Oh, I see. So there's a lot of it in the media right now, and you were saying that's taking the attention off of other things. Can you tell me more about what it's taking the attention off of?
It's taking the attention off of anything that is upsetting to people and real. So currently in this political system, there is a government presidential election or campaign that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
There are children in camps separated from their parents. There are...
Why?
That is a question for your government.
Oh, okay.
But there are people that are wanting to speak up about freedoms and social injustice, and the coronavirus detracts from all of those things, and also puts everybody in equal fear together.
I see. Okay. Does the current president know that this is a tactic?
We don't think that it's a tactic that is a manipulative tactic.
Oh, okay.
Or intentional tactic.
Okay.
These things, these types of things, just are always available in the reality, and then when someone plucks them out and runs with it, that's how it can get to be so big.
I see.
Literally going viral.
Okay. I see. All right. And where do you usually go? I remember you told me before, I believe you said the Pleiades, is that
Correct.
Are you there now, being channeled through Jasmine? How does that work?
No, I'm here now.
Oh, I see. How do you do that?
I just step into Jasmine's consciousness.
I see. And who exactly are you?
Well, I am Jasmine on a different plane, in a different dimension. Everyone that comes through is Jasmine.
Right.
On some level.
Right.
But everyone is everyone, so...
Can you tell me how that works?
Well, it's not an easy thing to understand, but we are all... If you imagine a river, and everyone's consciousness is in that river, and then the river can branch off into streams and ponds and tributaries and all sorts of different veins of the river, and that is our consciousness, and we can come through whomever invites us to come through.
Okay, how do they invite you?
Well, as we were sitting here, how did you invite me?
True, by asking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see. Okay. Is there any advice you would like to give humans at this time, besides what you already have given us?
Just to be present, and just to be curious. You're here for very specific reasons. You're here to enjoy your life. You're here to enjoy one another, to play, to emote, to be here. One thing that we see is that humans are either trying to leave their bodies and to be vacant because they feel too many things, or they are trying to ascend and to leave their bodies in that way.
What would you like to say about that?
That ascension is not what you're doing right now.
What are we doing?
You're being humans.
Right.
And there's nothing better. There's nothing better than being a human.
Really?
Really.
Do you like being a human?
Well, I'm not a human.
Have you been one? If you're an aspect of Jasmine?
Of course. Not for long periods of time.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because this is a higher consciousness that I'm in mostly.
So you were a human at one point?
I chose to be a human.
Did you live a full life?
No.
Oh, can you tell me more about that?
I just stepped in or walked in.
To who?
Well, to Jasmine currently. I can do that. But just throughout the course of time, I've had different human bodies and different people that I've not stayed for very long, but just long enough to feel the grass, to feel the wind, to feel the feelings of being here on Earth.
Does the person feel anything?
I try not to let them feel anything, not to overtake them.
What does it feel like if you have a walk-in?
What does it feel like from the perspective of the human?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on who's walking in. I try to be gentle and, I suppose, unobtrusive. I don't want to startle the human or do things that they would not do.
Do they seem to notice?
They might feel different slightly. They might feel more tuned in. They might feel more psychic during these times, more open.
Does it benefit them in any way?
I suppose that it could. Maybe they'll have claircognizance that day, things like that. But I don't stay for long. I don't stay long enough to be considered parasitical or intrusive or invasive.
Does this happen to all humans?
Many.
So they receive walk-ins just for a little bit of time?
And a higher consciousness will walk in. Also, a lower consciousness can walk in, and that is not the best.
How can a human protect themselves from that?
Just by being energetically hygienic.
Okay.
And aware and awake. Many lower vibrational frequencies walk in to people who are not awake.
Oh, well, I was told a long time ago that, and I believe I was talking with Jasmine, that like different negative emotions attract a lower vibration. Is that true?
Correct. And an aura that has holes in it.
Well, if we're all one, are these negative entities really separate than us?
Well, everyone has aspects of these negative attributes, not necessarily entities.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are operating on a lower vibrational frequency and not taking care to seal those holes and to build your aura and to shore yourself up, then that is when you're available.
I see. Okay. I see.
For a lower vibrational entity to enter, to walk into you.
I see. So,
they can wreak havoc.
Yeah. And you can just release them by shoring up your sense of self. Is that correct?
Correct. And you can also ask them to leave.
And do they have to leave?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
They don't necessarily want to, so it's not always quickly and it's not always painless.
Right. But this is also like an aspect of ourselves that we haven't integrated. Is that correct?
With the lower vibrational entities, it's not always an aspect of yourself that you haven't integrated. Sometimes it's just, dare we say, demonic, like lower and scary.
Someone told me once long ago that demonic energy was a thought, a human thought form. Is that correct? That it wasn't exactly real? It was just created by thoughts? Negative thoughts?
That's interesting, because on some level, yes. But, and that is to say that when you have a low vibrational frequency, you are thinking those types of thoughts.
Oh.
And then creating the possibility to call in lower vibrational entities.
If you are of a lower vibration, there are lots of people in the world that are depressed and they have a habit of thinking negative thoughts. What's the best way for them to start? Like the first step, just start thinking positive thoughts, because it's hard to go from a negative perspective to a positive one.
We would say to begin writing.
What should they write?
Whatever thought that they would like to think.
Oh, like write it down?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And then what should they do?
Once they've written those thoughts, then say those things out loud.
Okay. And then what should they do next?
Just keep saying those thoughts, the good thoughts.
Okay.
Until they stick.
Oh, so just keep saying them. Write them down first, say them out loud, say them all the time until they stick. Is that like positive affirmations?
It could be considered that.
Mm-hmm.
But positive affirmations will not work on the whole if they will help you get out of your repetitive thought loop that's negative.
Okay.
But they won't make large changes in your life if your subconscious mind is not being activated and integrated with the new thoughts.
Okay, I see.
On the short term, they work.
Okay.
On the surface level. If all you're trying to do is to change the groove and to get a new groove, then affirmations work remarkably well.
Okay. Well, if somebody doesn't know about QHHT or hypnosis, they could just write down how they want to feel and say those things until they start to feel them. Is there any other advice you would give people?
Right, and to say those things not until they start to feel them, but just until they feel the original negativity lift.
Oh.
And then write even better thoughts, more aligned thoughts, and then to say those thoughts, and then just continue that process until eventually it is snowballed into something like you or something else.
Okay.
You're not those negative thoughts.
Okay, great. Anything else you want to say about that?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
There is. Our thoughts develop over time. So what we are saying is that you have to undo them over time.
Oh, so it's a process.
It is a process, especially if you're not going through a practitioner or you're not working specifically with your subconscious mind.
Okay. But if you are, could it be instant?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.